Have you ever heard of the Swiss Réglette? It's an early 20th century slide ruler that was used to decode secret messages, and we're going to learn how it works. Hey, I'm Brandt, and if you're a longtime viewer of this channel, you might know that I put together a lot of our code-related videos over the years. I just love visualizing data. So you can imagine how I felt when recently I was perusing Wikipedia and found this really cool slide ruler. It was apparently created by the Swiss Army during the World Wars, but was phased out of use because it just wasn't secure enough. I learned about this through two sources. Cryptomuseum.com, where they talk about Ethereum and Bitcoin and slide rulers. I'm sorry, that's not true at all. They just talk about code-breaking stuff. And I read through an excerpt from one of their sources, a German book called Communications Equipment of the Swiss Army since 1875. Weirdly specific. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any more readily available information about this particular device. Not saying there isn't information out there, I just couldn't find it. So, grain of salt and all that. But I still think it's a really cool slide ruler, and I want to show you how it works. It comes with three parts. You have a tall fixed frame with a slotted channel carved down the middle. The numbers 1 through 100 are printed on the frame. Odd numbers descend down the left side of frame, while even numbers ascend up the right side of the frame. You have a slider with characters printed on it, including letters of the alphabet, a period, a hatched shaded spot, and the numbers 0 through 9. You also have a second identical slider that can be stored on the back of the frame. Look at that, it's so cool. If you're at all familiar with
Cryptography,
this process is going to feel very familiar to you. It's based off of the Vigenère cipher. Hey, I pronounced the French word like a French word. Stop bullying me in the comments. I'll be referring to three types of information: the original message, the encrypted message, and the key, which is both a word and a number. Let's say I'm in the field, and I just learned vital information to the cause. That message might be, Eastern Front collapsed. General dress pants captured. This is an urgent message, but the info is sensitive, so we have to encrypt it. The person I am sending the message to and myself, we both know the keyword and key number. This process isn't described in the text, but I'm pretty sure that they're regularly rotated out with new keys. In this case, let's say our keyword is password. They'll never guess that. And our key number is 50. We're going to break our original message into groups of 5 letters each. Then we pair each letter from the message with a letter from our keyword. The keyword repeats to match the length of the original message. Now we get to finally use our slide ruler. To start encoding, we slide the first letter of the keyword to the key number. The P from password slides to 50. I think of this as calibrating the encryption, because now we just have to find the corresponding letter of the original message, E. There will be an odd number and an even number aligned with the letter, and we can choose whichever we prefer to represent this letter in the encrypted message. In this case, I'll choose 17, but 84 would also work. This just introduces a little randomness into the encoding. For the second letter, we repeat the exact same process. We find A from our keyword, password, and we slide it down to our key number, 50. Now that the encryption is calibrated, we find the corresponding letter from the original message, which happens to also be A, and we encrypt it with one of the adjacent numbers, 50 or 51. We continue this process along the entire message. At this point, you've probably noticed that we're using both sliders. For some key and character combinations, the letter you're looking for might extend off the edge of the frame, and you need to cycle the characters with the second slider to find the corresponding number. When it comes to longer messages, it's encouraged to change the key number, and I really like how they do this. Those instructions are injected into the encrypted message. So let's say after the first sentence, we want to switch it up and change the key number to 84. After we encode the period, we inject the shaded character into the message. This is referred to as a swap or change symbol, and we only ever encode this symbol when we want to instruct the person who is decoding the message to use a new key number. So whatever number we add to the encrypted message next is that new key number, 84. The beauty of it is we don't even need to encode the number, because it already looks like all of the other encoded characters and perfectly blends in. At this point, the keyword is reset from the beginning and the new key number is used for the rest of the message, unless another new key number is defined. And if there are any empty spots in the last group of 5 characters, you fill in the rest of the spots with random numbers. This way, the specific overall number of characters can't be known until it's decoded. It was recommended to use grid paper to keep everything aligned. They noted that the key should never be written down. This was a security measure because once you know the key, you can crack every message encoded with it, so it is crucial to protect. I'm unsure if this was enforced for the encoding and decoding process or just generally outside of that, because any paper that's used for the process was instructed to be burned immediately after use. To decode a message, you use the same basic process. You know the keyword and the key number, and you have the encoded message likely transmitted to you in Morse code or something like that. You extend the keyword across the message and wield your coveted slide ruler. First letter of the keyword goes to the key number. So the C from crimson goes to 26. Now we're calibrated, and all we have to do is look up the corresponding number from the encrypted message and write down the letter that's aligned with it. In this case, it happens to also be C. For the second character, we'll calibrate by sliding the R from crimson to 26. Then we look up the encrypted number, which is 50, and here we find that the character should be H. You repeat down the line until you have a mostly legible message, although you might want to correct the spacing. I mentioned earlier that the device was deemed insecure. It's described as such by a Dr. Hadwiger, whoever that is. And the paper doesn't even mention how it was deemed insecure, but if I were to guess what the attack vectors are here, once you know that this is the method being used, and if you can figure out what the length of the keyword is, all of a sudden you have these groups of characters along the message that are all encoded in the exact same way. And that makes it easier for you to, with a little bit of time and patience, brute force the keyword and eventually the entire message. If you happen to know more about this device than I do, which is certainly possible, I would love to hear about all the details and sources down in the comments. Who was Dr. Hadwiger? Did they even exist? Why is their name an anagram for hardwired? The world may never know. If you enjoyed this video, I recommend checking out some of our other code-related videos. The one-time pad video especially is pretty good and kind of related. And you can also find me elsewhere. I post eerie science and research videos on Emergent Beacon, and I post video game and more casual videos on my personal channel. I hope you enjoyed learning about this with me. Thanks for watching. That's the sound of my computer compiling some of the 3D that you just watched. You can support some of the work put into the show by pledging at patreon.com/modernrogue. That's how you can get your name in the list of patron credits on screen right now.